is the premier life leadership and business success coach. She's the author of Standing Strong, the real life story of overcoming adversity and becoming unstoppable in life and business. She's also an international speaker and coach, founder of Success Coaching Solutions, a business executive of 30 years, wife, mom, lifelong learner, and serial entrepreneur. She is passionate about inspiring others to see and embrace bigger possibilities in their life, career, and business. She believes the biggest challenge in life is to become all that you have the possibility of becoming. And Tina, I know that in the realm of living life on your own terms, we were discussing about being unstoppable. So the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. Interestingly enough, the term unstoppable, I caught part of what you were talking about, and I was completely stopped at one point in my life. And today I'm going to walk you through how I became unstoppable. Most of us have a burning desire deep inside of us to do something bigger than you've done before. Now, I'm not going to put you on the spot and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if that's you. I won't do that. But usually, when I ask people that, a few hands go up. Then I ask the next question. How many of you were actually scared to raise your hand and admit that, because that's admitting it to yourself as well? Then the whole room's hands typically go up. If that's you, we're going to talk all about how to move forward with those burning desires today. But before we do that, I want to ask you a question. Do you notice or do you see my lip drop, the uneven lip? Let me know if you do. Those of you that I'll meet in person later, please also let me know if you do. Most people tell me that no, they don't, but I do. I notice it all the time. And I notice it because I know the back story. I know what I was like and capable of before my life-changing accident happened, and it left me without basic functioning memories or needing to relearn almost everything in life. And I mean everything in life. See, I know my before and after story, and I notice my lip drop. You know your before and after story, and you notice it as well, whatever your it is. It's the after, though, that really matters to us, right? It's the after. It's what you do with what life throws at you. The reality is that we all face challenges, adversity. I'm just going to call them difficulties. We all face difficulties. They're going to happen. No one escapes this world unscathed. We just don't. The key is that with all difficulties, there are only three possible outcomes that you get to choose what you do with. The three outcomes are this: they can destroy you, they can define you, or they can develop you. We're going to talk about all of those a little bit later. But my challenge, and frankly, what a challenge it was, it did all three of those things to me in my life. You may be in that situation too. See, at first, my accident really destroyed me. Physically, I was incapable of doing basic life functions. It destroyed my ability to be, well, me. Next, as I healed, it defined me. See, when you've had an accident, you labeled or get labeled. You may label yourself, but you may also get labeled. As some of my abilities were returning, I became labeled a person with a traumatic brain injury. Yes, I had a brain injury. That was my accident outcome. But I no longer defined myself with that. People labeled me with it. And one day I woke up and said, no, that's not who I am. I made the decision, and that's it. It's a decision that it was going to develop me and I was going to learn through the process. You know, we're all going to face our own challenges, our own difficulties. It's the process that develops you. As long as you don't let it destroy or define you. And even if it does for a moment, making the decision to move beyond. See, I started learning. I had to relearn. See, both sides of my body, when you have a brain injury, both sides of your body don't work together. So when I would clap my hands, they would literally pass each other. I could not make my hands come together. None of those limitations, though, got to define me. I would not allow that any longer. The decision was gone. See, when your brain doesn't process at a normal speed, you can actually see the words flow right across your forehead. I hope you never see that. I hope you never see that. To be clear, my words were not, they weren't streaming by like most people's are. Yours are moving so fast you cannot actually see them. Mine were so slow that not only could I see them, but they were at a snail's pace. It was extremely, extremely slow. Again, I hope you never see your words that way. But the good news is, even though I was destroyed, I was defined, became developed, I healed. You can see I can put words together, I can clap my hands, and I'm able to be here with you today to share with you what I've learned. I'm often asked, how did you do it? What made a difference? How can I do that? How can I overcome? Well, here's the first part. I was not going to fight to keep my disempowering definitions. Let them go. I did not fight for it. It turned out that I found a very simple process that helped me through. Frankly, at that time, simple was all I could handle. I named the system my Standing Strong system, and you're going to find this, I hope you do as well, find it kind of humorous. You see, the Standing Strong system is because I couldn't stand at all. And then one day I could stand again, and I used the two words I could say it with name as sick as it was. That's how it became that. You can see where I was to where I've come. The truth is, like I said, we have all faced challenges and we all will continue to face challenges. That is life. You maybe even though your difficulty may be taking that next big step, it may not be a setback, it may be a step forward. And we need to lean into what we learn through that process. See, my accident put me in a place of limited functioning. That was not the end of my story. And it's not the end of yours when you're in difficulty. I leaned into faith. I had strong faith. I knew that as bad as things were, God had bigger, greater plans for me and my purpose. Even if I had no idea what it was or when it would happen, I leaned in. The waiting was not easy, I will tell you. I was not given the gift of patience. I'm the least patient person you will probably ever meet, but the process taught me patience. Again, I should not be able to do all the things. I was not supposed to survive by what the doctors all said. God had bigger plans, and I kept leaning into them. But I also leaned into several other things that you can lean into anytime that you want to take a big, scary step or move forward from a setback. The first is create your vision. Creating your vision is getting super specific about what that one thing is you want. Now, please don't skip the part of asking for guidance and wisdom. Please don't. See, I couldn't stand at all or recall much for myself. The vision that I had at that very beginning stage was so small. It was tiny. It was so incremental. It's okay to start small. It's more important that you just start with a vision. Maybe your vision can be something that you're going to do a month from now. It doesn't have to be the grandiose vision. My grandiose was becoming healthy again, becoming me again. My brain could not handle what that meant. I had to start with a teeny tiny vision, and you can too. Once you know where you're going, let's get you to the next step, which is knowing why you're going there. What aligns with you, knowing your values. And some people actually don't think values change. Mine changed radically, and yours may as well. Really stopping to evaluate your values is key in moving through any difficulty. Now, having goals. See, vision is the view, goals are the actions. Having a goal, having the actual action steps, and taking that action. I did one little teeny step every single day. One little teeny step. And honestly, that's all I could do was one teeny step. And that propelled me forward. Action moves you out of fear. Remember that action moves you out of fear. Then I built in accountability because really, I didn't want to do any of this stuff. This was not comfortable. It wasn't. And yours may not be comfortable either. It might be easier to not do it. Building in accountability and letting people know what you're doing is super important. And then let's get curious. So the fifth step is getting curious, asking questions. Most of us do not utilize our brain to the extent that it is a supercomputer. It can process things for us that we're completely unaware of. My accident happened when I was 40. I spent 40 years unaware of how to utilize my brain. I had to learn how to use my brain. We're not taught how to use our brain. One of the things that you can do is ask yourself questions. When you ask yourself empowering questions, your brain will solve for it. You just have to start. And I think the sixth is the most important. And this is something I heard some of you talking about earlier, and that is having the right aim. And I say aim because it's an acronym that you can remember. And if you have the right aim, you're always going to hit that target. And that target is your vision, right? So your aim is your attitude, your inspiration, and your motivation. Now, mindset matters. And I could talk about this literally 4 or 5 hours in, okay, probably 20. But the fact is, in order to truly become unstoppable, to move forward in any difficulty or handle that next scary thing you want to do, whatever it is, you have to have the right aim. If you don't, you will never hit the target that you're looking for. And I want so much for you to hit that target. See, when you have the right aim, it is key to you staying in motion. And remember, an object in motion stays in motion. But let's talk through a few aim scenarios and something that we can move towards in our life, right? Your attitude, your inspiration, and your motivation help you reach your vision, your goals, and your greater life purpose. In fact, Henry Ford is noted to have said that whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. Ford was talking about our attitude. Let's unpack for a minute the components of attitude and how they impact us. If you stop, I heard Hasima talking about being a baby. And we're going to talk a lot about attitude because we learn a lot from children around us. Adults don't follow the same attitude patterns we used to have. But when we look back, you'll see there's a strong connection and you can choose to go back. But if you look through your life, most of us, I know I can see a point in life when my aim, my attitude, my inspiration, my motivation really deterred me from getting to what I wanted or what I was supposed to do next. Starting with an understanding that not everything we do is going to work out perfectly. Okay. I never expected to have to learn how to put two words together again at 40 years old. Life isn't going to happen like we want it to. However, what does happen is that the things that happen to you are going to propel you forward. Some things happen to us, some things happen in spite of us. My accident was not my fault. It was completely in spite of anything I had done except being in that place in that moment. Some things will happen because of us. We get to choose, though, if they destroy, define, or develop us. See, it's at that point in our difficulties teach us so much. truly teach us so much. Like I told you I couldn't put a lot of words together. My processing was like a 3-year-old child. And in that childlike state, I kind of shrugged off whatever happened to me, right? And I tried it again and again and again. That was not who I was before my accident. And it may not be who you are right now, but you used to do that. Let's go back to when you were learning to walk. When you were learning to walk, you fell down over and over and over again, and it taught you what to do differently. You got up and you tried, and you continually tried over and over and over. Somewhere along the line, we decided that trying was not okay. Trying is not only okay, it's essential. If you had given up after one fall, or even 10, or 100, maybe even 1,000, you would have never learned to walk. Action and feedback are great propellers to help us reach what our true finish line is. I saw Dwayne ask a question a little bit ago about, I don't even know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't believe we know what we want to be until our life is over. I believe that we will continually be evolving. And you may be sitting here saying right now, Tina, these 6 steps that you just talked about, you went through them really quickly and they're overwhelming. There's a lot to do. Trust me, I understand. I started from the bottom of a really steep hill, and it was a lot of years of putting this into practice before it came to fruition. I had to break everything down into tiny, tiny, simple steps, or my brain would shut down. It literally would stop working. My prayer for you is that your brain does not stop working on you. My prayer for you is that you take those same tiny little steps and implement them. I'm going to ask you to not just treat this like a moment in time, an interesting story, something that happened that was unique and bizarre, because story is unique and bizarre. I didn't tell you how I got hurt. We'll save that for another day, because that's a unique and bizarre story. But I didn't tell you all of that. And yet you get to hear it and then go, oh, that's interesting. But I don't want it to be interesting. I want you to take the steps. Find an area of your life that's a difficulty. And that difficulty might just be taking the next big step forward. It doesn't have to be something negative. It could be a positive that's showing up as a difference. That next big step forward or something that you're dealing with. Take that moment. Identify one of the steps that I just shared with you, whether it's your vision or your values, your goals, your accountability, the thoughts and curiosity, or your aim. Identify where you can drop in that difficulty and use that component to move you forward today. Do not let today's conversation be shelf help for your life. Please do not do that. I want more than that for you. Now, before we end, well, let's start with this first. I'm going to say something and it's going to sound kind of braggadocious. It's not meant that way, but I want you to hear me out. In just a couple minutes, we're going to wrap up. And when we do, some of you are going to clap because you've enjoyed or loved what I've shared with you. I'm going to ask you, when you clap your hands, to do something, not for me, but for you. Yes, when you clap, you're going to be putting your hands together. Most of us clap our hands all the time and think nothing of it. We do that to ourselves. We think of everything that we do as ordinary, not extraordinary. As someone who could not put their hands together, please let that resonate with you. How extraordinary it is that you have the physical functioning, the cognitive functioning, and the God-given ability to put your hands together. Please stop treating your life as ordinary and let in how extraordinary it is. So when we wrap up, I want you to let that in, please. Now I'm going to ask 2 important things from you. Again, please do not let this be shelf help. Please do not think about that one thing. Write it down as soon as I'm finished here, jot a note. You can go back to the 6 steps and figure out where it fits in later, but jot down the thing you're going to return to. Please take care of your brain. Trust me when I say you do not want a brain that starts to fail. It's beyond scary and not something that I would wish on anybody. Please exercise your brain. Please exercise your brain. Keep it sharp, nourish it, protect it, and follow the system. And read a lot, a lot. Your future self will thank you. So again, we all face difficulties. We can let them define us, destroy us, or develop us. If you think your hill to climb is too much, please remember that God never lets go. If he brings you to it, he will bring you through it. If you ever doubt that, remember my journey. Think back to the woman who couldn't put her hands together and then presented to you. Think back to standing strong. May you stand strong and become unstoppable too. As Hasima said, I believe that the biggest challenge that we all face is to become all that you have the possibility of becoming. Become unstoppable. Let that be your pursuit. And yes, I would like to know, do you notice my lip drop? If you'll drop that in the chat, I would love to hear that. Take care. Thank you. And yes. If you have any questions for me, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Oh, thank you so much, Tina. That was so, it was just inspired and inspiring. And I was certainly, as you spoke, putting my hands together and clapping. And, you know, I sometimes think about what it takes for just a simple action. And something that it's not something to ever be taken for granted. So thank you for reminding us of that. And you have a comment in the chat, Peter Michael. I salute your courage, Tina, and for your valuable insights. Thank you for sharing. So,
thank you, Peter. Again, it's what happens to us in the journey, and what happens to us in that journey is sharing with others and inspiring others. My purpose in life went from aspiring for myself to inspiring others to be their best self. So it's the journey, and I'm honored to be able to be here and to share those insights today.
and I see Mira says it's not noticeable at
okay, it's literally off, but that, you know what, you don't notice it because one thing, I talk really fast, so it's hard to catch it. Thank you so much.
And the rest of the message says, the message you have for us is so powerful. Can't thank you enough. Micro steps for macro change.
Yes, yes, and yes. Micro steps for macro change. That is beautiful. Actually, I'm going to borrow that for my next speech. Okay.
And I'd just like to invite anyone who has any other comments or questions for Tina, feel free to ask. Feel free to raise your electronic hand or wave or unmute. I've got everyone on gallery view, and this is a comfortable space. So I'll just give you a few seconds. Okay.
Hasima, if it's okay with you,
Yeah.
if the group would like, I will actually share with you the written steps so that they can have them.
Oh, that would be awesome. Tina, please go ahead. Yeah. Are you going to
I'll send them to you, and you can send them out to your
okay,
because
because
I didn't bring them with me right now. I'm sorry, but I will get them to you.
that's fine. So what I'll do is when Shamima and I send out the email on Monday, then we will send that out along with our previous